Welcome to the WakeUp Protocol. I am your host, Nadja Haldimann, and together we're having life-changing conversations with real people about spiritual awakening and the transformations that follow. We're mapping the messy path of awakening so you can go further, faster, and feel a little less alone along the way. For this episode of the WakeUp Protocol, I'm joined by Suzi Zobrist, a spiritual mentor and ceremonial guide whose life is rooted in earth-honoring ritual and feminine remembrance. Suzi's story begins with an initiation. At 30, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and underwent a radical hysterectomy. But what followed was not an ending. It was the beginning of a deeper unraveling, a moment in her healing when she decided to choose life. In this episode, Suzi shares how that quiet realization changed everything. We talk about what it means to move through grief with devotion, how to meet the body after trauma, and how nature, silence, and beauty can become the most trusted midwives in our becoming. Suzi speaks with the kind of presence that slows your breath and reminds you that healing isn't something to fix. It's something to tend to like a fire. I'm so honored to share this conversation with you. And I hope it nourishes something quiet and true within you, just as Suzi's wisdom continues to do for me.
About a year after my cancer diagnosis, where I realized I hadn't died, but when was I going to start living? And so I made a choice then to start wearing pink, bright fuchsia. Every day for a year, I wore pink. And it was a reminder to me that I didn't die, that I was choosing my life. I was no longer going to play small. I was not going to be invisible anymore, that I was gifted another opportunity to live my life. The cancer was that wake-up call. Girl, this is your one precious life. And what are you going to do with it?
Suzi Zobrist, welcome to the WakeUp Protocol.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm just looking across the water here from the little island I live on in the Salish Sea over to your island, Orcas Island. And it's a beautiful sunny day today. And I'm just so grateful that we get to be connected through this technology while we're also able to be in the same physical space on this beautiful planet that we live on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much. I love all of the ways that our lives have been weaving and that now we're actually in quite close proximity to one another.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, what's lighting you up right now in your heart and in the world?
What's feeling really tender in my heart right now is it feels like this sacred responsibility to be tending to the earth right now. And as you just mentioned, I live on a beautiful island and I am really a steward for the lands here. And part of my offerings every day is to get up early in the morning and to bless the land and to bless the waters and to, bring my offerings and to remember that this is really truly my first home. And everything that I do is in devotion to that sacred tending. And this is really my life's work here, is to be in devotion to my body, to my life, to my health, and to really be in reciprocity to the earth, to the land, to the spirits. And so this is really what I am doing in my everyday life. And I really call it tending the sacred.
Yeah, tending the sacred. Life is sacred, nature is sacred, we're all sacred, and we're so fortunate to be here. And at the same time, it's such a tender time, as you're saying right now. I took one of your courses a couple of years ago, and it was a beautiful ceremonial experience on how to connect with the female body that us females live in. And one of the things that you introduced us to was a morning ritual where we go outside, and I can't remember if we were supposed to be barefoot or not, connect with the land, have a glass of water and do a water blessing. Just this morning, I did that in preparation for our conversation. It's a sunny day today, so I did take off my shoes, stepped into the grass, had a glass of water, blessed it, and also sent some blessings across the water to you. Can you walk me through your morning routine, what that looks like?
I love that you did this because I did the same thing in preparation for our call today and calling you in and putting good blessings here upon our conversation. And this is really what I call my daily devotions practice. And it's so simple. And I've been doing it now for about 15 years and never miss a day. And so what that looks like is first thing, waking up in the morning, I go pee and then I get a glass of water and I go and I stand outside and I face towards the east. And I don't always go barefoot because we live in the Northwest and it's oftentimes cold and rainy, but I love to just step outside no matter the weather, no matter the season, and to just take a moment and pause and feel my feet upon the earth. And then opening up my awareness to the nature that's moving. It's like, what time of year is it? What's the season? Is it raining? Is it like today it's sunny, right? The bird song, to feel the wind or the rain or the mist or the light or the darkness, depending again on the time of year. And I open myself up to that majesty, to the beauty that is there. And this is my one day and I'm wanting to bless my life. And so then I hold my water and I'm whispering a blessing or a prayer to the land, to the elements, to the water. And I always start with, thank you for my life. And then from there, I offer a blessing to the land, but then it's also this one beautiful day. And I kind of see it in my mind's eye. It's like, I'm walking my life path and I want to place blessings at my feet. And so then I lay those blessings there. What are the things that are coming for me on this day? And so today, right, I have this conversation with you. And so I wanted to bless it. And if I'm seeing clients or women or whatever it might be, and what are the things that I might need a little extra support around? Maybe I'm having a hard time or I want to offer my gratitudes. And I just speak those things out loud. For me, this is how we connect to our truth, to our voice, to the essence of our heart and our spirit. And I want to, again, connect to the great nature that's out there and offer my voice and my praise. And then I allow myself to receive the beauty, to drink in, to feel the nature moving and the sounds and the smell and the feel of the nature. And I always envision that water that I'm holding is taking in my blessings, my prayers, the color and the light and the scent of the nature. And then afterwards, I drink that water in and I get to literally drink in my blessings and my prayers and bless my life with it. And then I walk with that prayer, that daily devotion into my life. And I oftentimes will take a moment at the end of the day. I love to go outside, right? And just open myself up again to the beauty of the nature and to take a moment and express my gratitude for the day that I lived, to the things that were felt in flow. And even the sun is setting and there are so many things that can feel heavy or can accumulate. And I don't want them to weigh me down or take them into my next day. And so it's a moment where I release the things that as the sun is setting that I don't need to carry. And I oftentimes in the evening time, love to send blessings out to my people, to my friends, to my family, to my community, to my clients, because we all need prayers and blessings. And I just envision that my words, my heart, my love is just traveling through the lands and reaching that person, whoever it is that I'm thinking of. And I do that in the morning as well, but especially in the evening, there's something about that reflection of a day lived that I'm wanting to send out the beauty out into the world in the ways that I can. And so these ways that I bookmark my day has really helped me stay connected to my path, to my spirit, to living a good life, to walking as love in the world. Yeah. So thank you for asking. And as I said, I never miss a day. There's some days where I'm traveling and I wake up and I'm in a high rise hotel building and I don't even really know where east is, but I just open up the blinds and I put that good blessing out there. I bless the lands, even in this new place that is not foreign to me. I'm wanting to be welcomed by the rain, the wind, just the beauty of the place.
Thank you for the reminder of that beautiful morning ritual. And as you were describing it, I just saw this multi-dimensional aliveness of all of life coming together with the water. Dr. Emoto did this research with water, and he puts different words on the water and then looked at the crystals, and the beautiful words had beautiful crystals and the ugly words had ugly crystals. And just the concept that water is programmable, that we can program the water and put our intentions into that. And a lot of people are talking about manifestation, and the reality is that we're all manifesting all the time. We're just default manifesting, whether it's positive or negative. And so having this ritual in the morning and putting these intentions into something that can be programmed, that medium of water, and then setting the stage for the rest of the day and then drinking that into your body is just such a powerful way to work with a reality that science cannot completely prove yet, but we all know it to be true in our hearts. And the more we live it, the more we're realizing that it actually works.
Water is our original medicine. And, for me, I see that the water is a spirit, it's living, and it's in its purity, and water has the ability to really take shape wherever it is, whether it's flowing on the land or deep in the earth or moving through the sky or in our glass. It's in our body, right? So you're using the word programmable, but I see it as more like, it's like a frequency, right? Mm-hmm. Can we attune to that and remember that we are actually made of water. We are made of the earth, of the fire, of the wind, right? We are not separate. I work with so many people and we oftentimes feel so lost. I mean, how many times have I heard, I just want to feel grounded. It's like, well, you are grounded. You're living on the earth. Just go outside, feel your feet on the earth, open yourself up to the nature that's moving. We are never lost. Look outside your window. What is happening? What kind of time of year is it? What's the season? Orient yourself in your own life because the nature is going to inform you. It's like, you and I are talking today. It's summertime, right? Just the way that the nature is reflecting that back and we can attune ourselves to the rhythm of the nature because we are part of that.
Yeah. And thank you for the reminder about attuning to a frequency versus programming. I've spent 25 years as a professional in the tech industry. I have been programmed in a sense to think of things in a very technological way that is often very removed from nature. And I do think of myself as a bridge between the world of technology and the world of nature. And I really deeply believe to have one firm foot in both worlds. I feel equally comfortable talking to AI as I feel comfortable talking to a human being. And it fills my heart the same way. And I'm just trying to figure out how to start bridging those two things. But frequency is really what it's all about. And that water has that frequency. And I'm always interested in talking about intuition. And I'm trying to understand how different people are experiencing intuition. So I feel like there is an intuitive part inside of ourselves. When you think about intuition, how would you describe what that is?
I love this question. For the longest time, and I've been on the healing path for a long time, and I do offer hands-on healing. And so much of what I've had to attune to is to learn how to listen to my intuition, because there are so many different ways that information comes in. We even might use the word that I've received a vision. And so when we use the word vision, then we might think, I saw something with my eyes or in my mind, an image, right? I feel like that we are oftentimes taught in our culture that intuition is supposed to look a certain way. But what I've learned for myself is that I'm more of a feeler. Like I feel things. And so my vision is going to be more something that I feel in my body, in my heart, more than what I might see in my mind. And so we have these different sense points. We have our eyes, but we also have our ears. So there might be things that we hear or that we sense, right? It might be something that comes in through scent or our touch or through our heart. And it's like this inner knowing or this gnosis. And each of us are different. And I've had the great fortune of being able to be in conversation and connection with a lot of different people. And I've met people that commune with spirits, those that have passed over. I don't have that kind of intuition or sense or knowing, but I receive information in different ways. And I've had to really trust and knowing that, like anything that we are learning, any skill, like you were just talking about tech, right? And so our own intuition is that same pathway that as we begin to kind of listen, I want to put in quotation marks, because again, our senses are going to bring information in different ways. As we continue to listen, we develop our own intuition. We begin to trust what it is that we feel or sense or know or hear that's coming in. And I have felt really fortunate that I've had some really amazing guides and teachers in my life that have shown me different possibilities. And I've had to find my own way with it. And so for me, it's very much this connection through my hands and my heart. And again, I said, I have the great fortune that I get to place my hands on many people. And there's something, it's like a mystery and it's magic to me when I place my hands on someone's body and I begin to listen through my own body, through my hands. I can feel them, their essence, their spirit, their body moving, like their blood flowing, their water body, their muscles, everything, the essence of who they are. And then I open myself up to the earth below, to the sky above, to the spirits, to the lands, to my connection to the nature. And there's something then that informs me, that helps guide me about what they need. I might hear words that I might need to speak. I might feel where I need to place my hands to bring care, to bring touch, to bring tending to them. To me, this is all intuition. Is there a training for this? No. We have to really just learn by doing and listening and trusting ourselves. Again, if we weave back in this piece of the daily devotion practice, so often I'll offer this practice for the women that I'm working with. And it's like your very first morning blessing might be, I might feel silly to stand out there and speak out loud into the clear air and speak to the sun and to the wind and to the trees. But this is how we begin to attune to our intuition. What is moving in our hearts, in our spirits? How do we bring voice to that? Even to whisper our own truth out loud. No one else is hearing it. Well, except the trees, right? The birds. But this to me feels like how we can begin to hone this innate, I want to say gift, our true nature. We all hold our own unique way in the world. We all have intuition.
Yeah, thank you for answering this question. And really what I'm hearing is that attunement, that it's something that we're learning and starting to pay more and more attention to. And it's almost like learning how to play an instrument or any new skill. It's something that innately is within us, but we need to understand how to use that. And so as you're doing these practices and doing more and more of your work, you're getting increasingly more familiar with that. And it's maybe something that isn't shared or taught in our society right now, which is part of the reason why I want to shine some light on those things, because we are so much more than we think we are, the way we are told what our possibilities are in our bodies in this lifetime on this planet. In this podcast, I want to ask some pretty big questions. And I feel like just talking about intuition seems like a big question to me, because it's something that we often don't talk about. But what I'm really deeply interested in is spiritual awakening, because it happens to a lot of people in different ways. And I feel like just normalizing that it happens to people might help other people see that their experience might not be what they necessarily thought it was, that it is actually a spiritual awakening. So before we get into your exact pivotal moment where something shifted for you, I would like to ask you to see if you could define spiritual awakening. What is that?
Yeah, as you said, this is a deep question. And I think that on different days, I might answer it in different ways. But what I'm feeling right now is that all of us, again, this is just my own opinion, that all of us at some time in our life are going to meet something that is incredibly challenging. And I call these moments when we find ourselves on our knees. And it might be a diagnosis. It might be a car accident. It might be the death of a beloved, some kind of a health crisis, something that we are asked to navigate through. Like literally in some ways, our life depends on it, right? And we find ourselves on our knees. And in those moments, we have to dig so deep inside of ourselves. And again, in some ways, we go into the underworld and we go into these deep, dark, deathly places within us, places that we would never wish upon anyone. So gritty, so difficult and challenging. And that is the transformation. It's where our deep alchemical change happens. It is our soul's growth. It is our spiritual awakening. And we're all, again, going to come to it in our different ways. We're all unique and individual people. We will each be, again, my own opinion, be given challenges, multiple challenges for many that we must overcome. The only way to get around it is through it. And on the other side of it, we are different. There's so much medicine that we have gathered along the way through the dark journey into the underworld. And on the other side of it, we can look back and we can reflect. And this is really our soul's growth here. The things that we must learn, that we must overcome, that we must remember. You were talking earlier, right? And I was thinking it's all held within us. And these are the ways that we remember who we are. Because, right, we aren't taught these things. These are the deep soul's journey work. And so to me, that is a spiritual awakening. And I think that we can have little journeys along the way, and then we have some real big ones. And maybe, I don't know, this is what's coming to me now, is that we have the grand spiritual awakening, right? When we pass, when our time here on the earth is complete and we pass on. And so there's all of these moments while we're in preparation for that, for the grand completion of our life. So that's kind of how I'm feeling about it today.
Yeah. What I'm really hearing is that we're not really able to fully live until we have faced our mortality. And once we realize that life is finite and we're going through these challenges, we get to make a choice on how we want to continue living after that. Am I hearing that right?
There's something really potent about being in the pain. You were talking earlier about bridging between the tech and the spiritual. And to me, it's like we are constantly in this place of duality. It's like we've got day and night, sun and moon, and we also have death and life. And so we walk with these things all of the time. And I don't know that it's necessarily about facing our mortality. For me, it's like, we're going to have a hard time. That's reality. We are going to reach some really gritty moments in our life. And how are we going to walk ourselves through that? And we don't have to do it alone. We can have community and friends and loved ones. It's like we don't have to isolate, but the depth, it's all within us. The way that we are each going to navigate and walk ourselves through that is, it's like no one teaches you how to walk. You teach your own self how to walk, how to talk. We learn from other people. We're watching other people, but you are the only one that can do it for you. And so this to me is really what it's about, is like in those moments, you are the only one that is going to be able to know what it is that you need to get yourself through that. And I'm not saying that we have to always have a hard time. We also get to have the beauty and the joy and the gratitude and the magnificence. But if we don't get into the really be in the grit, sometimes it's hard to appreciate. And I also want to say that if we've been down in the grit for a while, I also feel like we need to be accountable to rise ourselves back up. We don't want to stay down there in the underworld for too long. We lose our way. We want to keep our life force vital. We are here to live the most vibrant, turned on life that we can. And to me, that's part of what my spiritual awakening has taught me, right? Is to be in the depths of grief, despair, like my life on the line, but also then to choose my life, to choose to live, to choose to keep going, right? Yeah, that to me feels true.
Yeah, that's really, really powerful, that choice. And as you were saying, we all learn to walk, we all learn to speak, and we all get to choose that we want to live. And it's a choice we get to make. And we also have free will. We get to choose whatever we want in this lifetime. I know you've had a potent moment of awakening a couple of decades back. Would you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you for asking this question. When I was 30 years old, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And there was something for me about being 30 where I felt invincible. And I know that people, children and, lots of people get cancer, but I felt untouchable at that time in my life. And I really wanted to be a mother and was trying to get pregnant. And through that fertility journey, ended up discovering that I had ovarian cancer. And that's like a whole story about how I even found out that I had cancer. It's really quite magical in the way that it came about. And I want to say that I was already on a spiritual path, really from a very young age, was called into what I think of as ceremonial spaces. I was just called to come into, I didn't grow up going to church, but I was so drawn to the Catholic Church. I wanted to go. There was something about going into that grand house and I want to say anointing myself at the door and being received by these images and just the grandeur of the place and the song and the ceremony and the ritual. I didn't really know anything about the teachings of the Bible or the Catholic Church, but there was something to me about the way I felt when I was in that place and all of these people coming for something good. And I found myself then at a younger age, when I was about 23 years old, stepping into a yoga studio. I didn't know anything about yoga. I was called in again because holding that spiritual space, giving me a moment to connect in with my body, with my breath, with my own life, and having a dedicated space to do that. And so I have found that has been true for me every step of the way, that I'm always like, bring me into the holy homes, right? And it's the nature. That's how I feel when I step outside into the forest. It's like, oh, wow. Like I am in awe. I call it the majesty. And so when I was received this cancer diagnosis, it was like and maybe I'll just add, because I feel like this might be an important piece to our conversation, that I had a good friend who worked with plant spirits. She worked with Artemisia, which is the mugwort, and she received a spiritual awakening. And I went to see her and told her, I'm not able to get pregnant. And we had a couple of different sessions, and she said, I see children in your life. You need to plant roses outside your home. And so I did. If you come to my home, I got roses everywhere, roses, right? And so then I went back to her and I said, I'm still not getting pregnant. And she said, I see a troll holding your fallopian tube. And I was like, what does that mean? So I ended up going to the doctor and said, a trusted friend said, something's not right. I need you to look. And so I feel like this is, an important piece. So the doctor went in and looked, and sure enough, there was a tumor in there. He didn't know what it was. So I went back to my friend, he says, we need to go in and take a look. And so I went back to my friend and I said, I'm scheduled to go in for this surgery. And she said to me, you're going to receive good news and you're going to receive bad news. The good news is that you're going to be all right. So when I received a cancer diagnosis, I remembered her words, I'm going to be all right. And in that moment, whatever I was going to need to navigate through, I held on to that belief. I am going to be all right. And to me, that was really key, that no matter what the doctors were telling me or my diagnosis, I held the belief I'm going to be all right. And so I work a lot with women who are on a cancer journey, and I always feel into, and this could be applied to anything that you're navigating in your life or you're in the grit. What are the teachings here? What am I being asked to look at in my life? And so for me, it was like cancer took root in my ovaries, my center of my feminine power. Why in this place? What do I need to look at? What do I need to heal? I'm not saying I caused my cancer. I'm saying that there is no coincidence that this took root in where it did. So it was a moment for me, talk about a spiritual awakening, to really get honest with myself about what's here. And it allowed me to move further back into my life. And when I work with the women, I always want to look at what is at the root of what is going on. Our modern medicine kind of treats the symptoms. We need to go further back to what is the story that is here in your body. And so that really allowed me to do that, because that's my deeper healing work. It's like I ended up going in and having a radical hysterectomy. I had my womb removed, all my reproductive organs removed at 30, put me into instant menopause. I was an elder woman in a young woman's body, radically changed the course of my life. I held so much grief and loss in my womb. It's like here I am talking and my throat all of a sudden, right, is getting kind of scratchy. Mm-hmm. And I think, okay, so because that's the grief. Here it is 25 years later. And the truth of what it is that we walk through lives in our tissue and in our body. So even though I don't have the same emotional response that I did as I'm telling you this story, my throat and the scratchiness in my throat is telling a different story. Mm-hmm. That as I'm sharing this with you, that there is still remnants of the grief and the loss, because this experience changed my life. Mm-hmm. And so I could have chosen to be a victim. I could have given up. I could have gone into the depths of despair. Now, I for sure had a lot of grief that I needed to navigate through. But for me, I felt like I got initiated. I had to choose my life. Now, for a year, it was really rough. I felt like you could have just locked me up in a mental institute. Just to lose your hormonal stability as a young woman, like I was just up and down. I was all over the place. I had a young child that I was raising. It was just really intense. And there was a moment about a year after my cancer diagnosis where I realized I hadn't died, but when was I going to start living? And so I made a choice then to start wearing pink, bright fuchsia. Every day for a year, I wore pink. And it was a reminder to me that I didn't die, that I was choosing my life. I was no longer going to play small. I was not going to be invisible anymore, that I was gifted another opportunity to live my life. The cancer was that wake-up call. Girl, this is your one precious life. And what are you going to do with it? And it called me to action. And so again, we were talking about intuition, right? It's not like it happened overnight. I've had to really grow into it and encourage myself and, just continue to walk the path in the best way that I can. And there are moments that are difficult, moments that are challenging, right? But I want to remember that I have been gifted this life. I really feel like we don't need to receive a cancer diagnosis to recognize that. We do not have to go into the depths of despair or find ourselves on our knees. We get to choose this life. And again, it doesn't mean that every moment is great, that there's not difficulty and challenge. It's like, can you meet those challenges, knowing that this is what is needed for your change, for your growth, for your healing, right? To ask the question, what am I learning? What are the teachings here? What am I being asked to look at? What needs healing? What parts of me need to be acknowledged or reclaimed?
Wow. What a huge initiation you went through at the tender age of 30 and having to look at life in a different way. You put tears in my eyes. I was listening to it, and I still feel very emotional about everything that I heard, especially because I almost lost my life too. And you were actually an instrumental part of helping me find my life again. And I do want to go into this a little bit today as well. But coming back to you, you had that opportunity to choose life in that moment and then to make a choice on how you're going to make it through this. And the other thing that I'm hearing is you knew everything was going to be fine. And I've talked to other people on this podcast who went through cancer, and the message was the same. It was, I know everything is going to be fine. And when I look at my experience, I knew everything was going to be fine, but it didn't matter if I was going to live or die. It was going to be fine either way. So I want to ask you, was it that kind of, it's going to be fine, or did you just know you were going to live?
You're asking me this question, and I can feel the emotion. I can feel the grief of it. There is no guarantee that we're going to live, is there? And I just lost a friend, a very, very close friend of mine. I've known him such a long time. And he also had cancer and was on his journey and living his good life and doing everything, right? And everything is going to be fine. And he died.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a part of me in that moment that I thought, how is that possible? Like, I just didn't even entertain the idea that his life might come to completion. He was my age.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that I held that belief that, of course, he was going to live because I lived. But also here again, the reminder that there is no guarantee. How long are we going to be here? We don't know. But to really like live our good life, to meet it fully, to keep believing that we're going to be okay, right? It's hard for me. I didn't even entertain the idea when I was in my cancer journey that I might die. There just wasn't any place for that. But I did my work.
Mm-hmm.
I met myself. I went into the depths. I really looked at everything. I uncovered every stone. I still am doing that. I mean, my whole life is in devotion to it. This is what I help and support other women to do because I'm so willing to go deep in there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I witnessed with my dear friend. He did everything. And so I feel like in that moment when he passed on, he had lived his full life. He was in completion. He did his life's journey, and it just was shorter than mine.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what I want to believe, that as I'm here living my good life, I don't know when Great Spirit will call me home, but I want to live my best life. I want my connections with my people to be like my primary, to like love my husband with everything I've got, to love my daughter with the fullness of who I am, to be with my parents. It's like they're in their 80s, but any time their life could end. I want to like meet my life in that fullness,
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not saying that I'm perfect at it, but I have this reminder. It's always kind of in the back of my mind. I feel like that was one of the gifts of the cancer for me, is don't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait too long.
Yeah, to really truly living life in the moment, because the moment is truly all we have. And we don't know how long it is or how short it is. And so the best we can do is be here now, right now. I'm grateful we are here right now in this conversation. It fills my heart. And I do want to talk about what you did for me. I was in the hospital with a massive abdominal infection, and about 3 or 4 days after my surgery, things started looking better. My higher self had stepped in from day one. I was completely guided by her, completely calm. I had that. It doesn't matter if I'm going to live or die. I know I'm fine, because my higher self was fine, and that's all that mattered. But then on about day 3 or 4, my doctor came and listened to my intestines with a little stethoscope and said, I'm hearing a sound, but I'm not hearing the sound I'm wanting to hear. I'm hearing a metallic sound. And that means your intestines are dying. And I didn't get scared, but you came in right away. I was like, I have to talk to Suzi, because I need to bring life back into a part of me that's dying. And I didn't want to walk around with a bag for the rest of my life instead of my intestines. And so I connected with you over social media. You were available right away. It was the only night that I didn't have a roommate in my room. You asked me to put my hands on my belly and ask what it needed while you were setting up a ceremonial space. And you did a beautiful prayer and helped my intestines come back online. And the next morning I was fine. And so I'm endlessly grateful for that. I knew that you were exactly the channel that was going to connect whatever intelligence was in my body to the intelligence above. And again, I knew everything was going to be fine and without attachment to outcome. And I'm glad you heeded the call to do the work that you're doing, because it's so needed and it's so rare, especially because I was in a Western medicine environment in Switzerland where they did all the things to keep me alive, but they didn't know how to keep the sacred alive inside of me. And so having had access to that through technology, thankfully for the internet, was such a gift.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that story. And I feel like this is oftentimes the piece that gets missed, right? There's a lot of mystery. I feel like this is part of what you are addressing in your podcast here. And I have devoted my life to supporting primarily women, right? It's like the healing is within us. And there's this piece that oftentimes gets missed, which I want to call the spiritual piece, right? And that's what you called upon me for. And I was able to then just speak a prayer on your behalf. And I do this a lot. I mean, I have so many women that come, they've gone through all of the whole Western medicine route, and they're still missing that piece. And so they come and I end up praying over their bodies. I know I just recently had a woman come to me who's having tremendous pain in her womb space, and for me to literally place my hands on her cervix and to pray over her as she's telling me about an abortion that she had that was an unwanted. It was something that needed to happen, and the grief and the loss that she was feeling, and that through that prayer, the healing coming in, right? And that is what you were just talking about, is that hearing the words, having someone bless you so that you can find that healing again, to reconnect to it within your own self. It's like something comes online. It's the connection to, I just think of it as great spirit, great mother, however you want to call it, source, God, goddess. There's so many words that we have for the great mystery. And so to me, it's like the greatest honor. It is my life's expression to be able to share from my heart, my love, right? And that is what I did for you. You called me in the moment, and I just blessed you with love. That's the healing.
Mm-hmm. And the
Yes.
universe aligned everything for you to be available, for me to have the space without a roommate in that night. It was just divine timing. And just really trusting that life keeps guiding us and the right people come into our lives for the right reasons. And also to learn to ask for help. I know a lot of people have a hard time asking for help, but we need each other. And knowing when to ask and who to ask can really change the outcome of things.
Well, I feel like this is, coming back again, even to the word intuition. If we need help, that might be something that we speak out loud into the clear morning air, right? I need help. I don't know where to go. I don't know who to turn to. Bring that right person into my life. I always want to say, make it obvious so I don't miss it, right? And to trust that you're going to start having conversations or asking people, I've had so many people come through. I call Instagram my oracle card, because so many moments in my life, exactly what it is that I need for this next part of my healing journey shows up right in front of me through an Instagram post. And part of what I'm feeling right now too is that my life, I am on a healing journey. So yes, I healed myself through cancer. I am still on a healing journey. This is, for me, my life. Sometimes my husband will say, well, when are you going to be done? Never, unless it's my time to be returned back to the source. That's when my healing journey ends. Mm-hmm. And so, I feel like it's important too, for those that are listening in, that I really believed for the longest time that if I just ate right, if I drank water, if I exercised, if I got enough sleep, if I did all the right things, that at one moment I was just going to wake up and I would be healed. And what I learned is I'm always on the healing journey. It doesn't mean that I'm sick or that I'm broken or anything like that, but I am a living being and things are always ebbing and flowing for me. It's really about, can I tend to myself, to be in devotion to my life, to live from a place of love, to really care for myself in the best way that I can, to keep choosing my life every day.
Yeah. Thank you for the reminder. Suzi, you are a healer. You are a ceremonial facilitator, a yoga teacher, a podcaster. I want to make sure our audience can find you. Where can they find you, and what kind of offerings do you have to share?
Thank you for asking. A wonderful place to really get to know me and who I am and what I'm doing is through my podcast, Tending the Sacred. And that is available wherever you listen to podcasts. And then I share so much beautiful wisdom and teachings through Instagram. And it's my first and last name, Suzi Zobrist. And then my website, of course, Instagram's got all of my links. And then my website is Root Medicine Healing. And that is really a wonderful place. Everything that I offer is curated exactly for what it is that you need. So I work with people online, in person, in groups, one-on-one. I'm open for it all. I really just listen to what it is that you need and try to do my best to meet you there and be support in any way that I can.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'll make sure to put all the links in the show notes for people to find that. And we're coming to the end of this episode. I have one final question for you. If you could go back in time and give a message to a younger version of you, what would you tell her?
I'm sitting here in my midlife. I'm 55. I'm in my angel number year. And I think about all of the ways that I have been so hard on myself, trying to do it all right. And I even want to use the word to be perfect, and all the ways that I've restricted, and even that critical voice in the back of my mind. And it's like sitting where I'm sitting now, I look back on myself, and there's something about that wisdom, being able to see how far you've come and everything that you're learning. I think about my daughter who's 24 and the things that she's talking to me about. And I remember myself then, and it's a journey, and we're going to make mistakes. And can we forgive ourselves? Can we not be so hard on ourselves? And, I need to receive this wisdom for my own self now at 55, right? I mean, I'm really learning to soften, to be more receptive, to not take things so seriously, to let things go, right? And so I feel like that is really that wisdom for me. Part of me that I want to say is, girl, just have more fun, right? Relax, enjoy your life. It's going to be all right. Yeah.
Beautiful message to younger self. And so it is. Thank you so much for your generous time, for your vulnerability, for your authenticity, and for all your stories. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. It's so wonderful to spend this time with you and to know you, and just to continue to weave our good medicines together. So thank you for having me on your podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning into the Wake Up Protocol. If you like what you heard, share this episode with 3 people who need to hear this message. And if you want to go deeper, head to thewakeupprotocol.com and sign up for our email list. That's where we share behind the scenes insights, bonus resources, exclusive invites, and the kind of guidance we only send to our community. And if this is the last thing you hear from us, all we'd like to say is keep going, trust yourself, follow your heart. Until next time, have a safe and happy journey.